Let's say you're looking for a house in the Greenville, South Carolina area. There's a lot of different suburbs here, and I'm sure you want to know what are the best areas and what are the worst areas for you to look into. Hi, I'm Whaley, your favorite Greenville realtor. Of course, I've already mentioned I'm a real estate agent, and I am obligated by law to mention there's something called fair housing. So I can't steer anyone in one direction by best or worst and say, hey, this is my personal opinion. So what I'm going to use today is actually stats. I'm going to use data, and there's three key metrics that I really looked at. I wanted to look at appreciation. That was one of the main things that I evaluated. How fast do homes sell in given locations, and what is the percentage of people who own their home versus the percentage of people who are renting it? I used those three calculations and I ranked them best to worst and created a point scoring system so that I can give you the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Before I dive into these, what was really shocking actually is one of the towns that was on the worst list. It's actually one of the areas people most commonly reach out to me about. So stick around, make sure you hear that one. Let's go ahead and get our list started here. So number 3 on the list actually is Duncan, South Carolina. So this ranked the worst on the point system of all the towns that I evaluated. And when we look at Duncan, the reason why it came in last place was actually because the appreciation rate was near the bottom compared to all the other cities, which was absolutely crazy because there's actually 31% appreciation since 2020, which in most years would be absolutely phenomenal. So Duncan is still definitely growing a ton. It also ranked tied for last in how long it takes to sell a home. Now, homes are still selling pretty fast in Duncan. They were taking 41 days on average, but it was much slower than the other areas surrounding it. And last, we actually had home ownership rate where it came in at 52.6% according to US consensus data. So this is actually primary home ownership. So it factors in people that are renting and also factors in rental property. So people who own homes, not as their primary residence, but as an investment property. And overall, this is below the US average, which is 65%. So you're seeing more people renting in Duncan and you're seeing more people buying homes and using them as investment properties in Duncan. Not all is bad in Duncan, like I mentioned. That area is growing. It is right in the middle of Spartanburg and Greenville, so it makes for a great commuter city. Whether you work or live or want to enjoy life in Greenville or Spartanburg, you can get there in about a half hour. It also has really affordable housing. Another thing that people really like about the Duncan area is there's Tiger River Park there, and there's a lot of other outdoor activities. So there's a lot of really good things about being in Duncan, but overall, when I looked at the key metrics here, it happened to rank as the worst city on the list. Next on the list, number 2. So our second worst city was actually Spartanburg. So when we look at Spartanburg, it's actually about 45 minutes to an hour from Greenville. So most people don't normally consider it a suburb, but it is an area that I get asked about frequently. So I thought I'd go ahead and add it to the list. And the reason why Spartanburg ranked kind of near the bottom is a lot of the reasons very similar to Duncan. So it actually had the lowest level of appreciation at 22% since 2020, which overall is still strong. It was actually tied for the number of days on market, so it took the longest to sell a home in Spartanburg. And then the home ownership rate was actually the same as Duncan at 52.6%. So overall, you look at the key metrics there, and Spartanburg just happened to rank closer to the bottom in all of them. Now, there's a lot of really great things happening in Spartanburg, and there's a lot of reasons why people may want to move there. There's great job opportunities. Some of the Fortune 500 companies in our area are actually based in Spartanburg or Spartanburg County. The downtown of Spartanburg is going through a whole revitalization, so people that want to get in ahead of that, they want to buy in the downtown of Spartanburg, there's much more affordable housing and there's going to be a lot going on there. They've already got a baseball team that's planned in place. They've got tons of other development that's going to happen in their downtown. So there are some really great things that are happening there in Spartanburg. Just some of those key metrics just didn't rank as high as some of the other cities, but it still is a growing and appreciating area. And our third worst city on the list was a shocker. I could not believe this. This is a city that people talk to me about all the time. It was actually Travelers Rest. I was blown away whenever this list came in. I had to like double, triple, quadruple check my numbers. Like, no way, this can't be. Because this is an area that people just absolutely love with the Swamp Rabbit Trail and having that amazing downtown Main Street that Travelers Rest has. So I was like, what is going on? Homes in the area actually appreciated at 56%, so it is one of the absolute highest, but the other metrics in Travelers Rest just weren't as favorable. You looked at how long it took to sell a house, and it was up there near one of the longest days on market. Although the numbers of days on market were pretty close together overall, it just happened to take a little bit longer in Travelers Rest than some of the other areas. And the home ownership rate was actually at 53.2%. So that was just much lower than the US average. When we look at Travelers Rest, I think the big reason for that is there's some communities like the Cliffs where people will buy those homes as second homes, and that's gonna decrease that overall percentage of primary home ownership rate. There's some really phenomenal things about living in Travelers Rest. Like I've already mentioned, the Swamp Rabbit Trail. If you're someone who likes to get outdoors and active, Travelers Rest is a phenomenal city to be in. You know, some other things that are really great about Travelers Rest is not only do you have lake views, but you have mountain views. So you get this really great opportunity to be outdoors and appreciate some really incredible views. When we look at some of the downfalls of living in Travelers Rest, ultimately you don't have quick highway access for most of it. You are kind of traveling down roads that can be windy because you are in the mountains, you know? So that is something where it's not as accessible to some of the other larger areas in Travelers Rest, because they've actually wanted to keep that more of a quaint town, and the downtown is amazing. But you don't have some of your big box retail stores that you just need to go to. Their grocery stores will be a little bit further away. Of course, this is all subjective based on exactly where you live, and Travelers Rest is pretty large landmass wise. But that's also brings me to the point of there are some really remote feeling areas at Travelers Rest as well. I think it's a phenomenal area. I've got tons of clients who live in that area. I love that area as well, but it is just something to know, and it did happen to rank here as our third worst city on our list. All right, now let's move on to the best of the best cities. We're gonna start off with number 3 and stick around to the end because we're gonna share with you the best city, which actually kind of blew the competition away. But first, let's start with our number 3 city, which is Greer, South Carolina. When we look at the key metrics here, Greer ranked really well in all of them. We had appreciation at 52%. It was some of the lowest days on market, so homes sold really quickly. They know that there's demand there. And 72% of people actually own their home as their primary residence in Greer. So that means there's less people who are renting, there are less people who are using their home as an investment property, so you have more home ownership, which tends to create a sense of pride in the community. Greer has a lot of great things going for it. It's got a downtown that in a lot of ways could rival downtown Greenville. It's not as big, there's not as much there, but the cobblestone streets are just really quaint. They do a lot of activities to get the community together, and Greer in and of itself just has so much to offer. You've got areas like Wade Hampton where you can get to all your big box stores, same with Pelham Road, you have quick access to the highway and a lot of different places in Greer. So there's just a lot of really great things that are happening in that area of town. Number 2 on the list was Fountain Inn. Fountain Inn is an area that has seen tremendous growth over the last 5 years. It actually was the highest on our list at 63% appreciation since 2022. The other thing with Fountain Inn is homes sold really quickly, showing that there was demand there, ranked near the top as far as how quickly a home got sold. And then our home ownership rate in Fountain Inn is actually 71%, so that's also near the top and higher than the US average. Fountain Inn has really grown and exploded because people have wanted to move to that area for a multitude of reasons. They have a really small downtown. It's smaller than downtown Greer, but it's really quaint. They do like a Christmas parade there. They do a lot of other little festivals to gather people. There's a couple places to shop and to eat, and people really like that. The home prices have been more affordable in Fountain Inn than some of the other areas that we have talked about. So that was also a really big positive. In Fountain Inn, people were finding that they could get some more land for their space as well. And Fountain Inn is also right off of 385 in most cases, so you have quick highway access, which just made it a really great commuter city for people. Now, our best of the best city. I actually was a little bit biased towards this city already because technically I live here already. It's Taylor, South Carolina. So Taylor's came in number 1. And it ranked as one of the best. It actually kind of blew the competition away in a lot of ways. When we look at Taylor's, it ranked near the very top of all the categories that I evaluated. So the appreciation rate in Taylor's is actually 58%. Homes sold the fastest in Taylor's of any of the cities that we evaluated as far as days on market, and the home ownership rate was 76%. So when you look at Taylor's overall, it had a lot of really great positive things going for it. When we think about Taylor's and some of the things that make it really special is that Taylor's is really close to downtown Greenville in most cases. So you can be 15 to 20 minutes into downtown. So it's a really close suburb. Some of the traffic and congestion tends to be a little bit lighter in the Taylor's area. Of course, traffic everywhere is growing, especially as the population grows, but overall, it tends to be less than some of the other areas around town. All of your big amenities, like if you want to get towards Wade Hampton, you want to get to Pelham Road, you've got a lot of places that you can kind of get to really quickly to get to big box, and you also have a lot of places where you can go locally. For people that like to be outdoors, in a lot of places in Taylor's, you can get to Paris Mountain in a 10-minute drive or so. You can get over to downtown Travelers Rest, you can get to Greer, and you can get to downtown Greenville pretty quickly. That's one of the things that we really love, is that we're 15 minutes from all three of the downtowns. You also just find that people have a lot of pride in home ownership here, as it has one of the highest rates, so people are really taking care of their properties. You don't have as many rental properties that are not as well kept. So there you have it. There's our list of cities for the best of the worst. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think these are the right metrics to use for evaluating the city? Drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you.